The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Article 6 and the Kyoto Protocol Article 10 both encourage governments to educate, empower, and engage all stakeholders and major groups on climate change policies. As I said earlier, climate change will affect anyone and any place. And so nobody is safe and nobody is not going to be affected by climate change impacts. So the government has to step in, educate, empower, and engage all stakeholders, which means even our young people, because they are the worst affected in this environmental debate, because they've had no role to play in creating these issues and climate change problems. They are, however, affected by the climate change problems, and they will need to solve many of these climate change problems if they want a decent, comfortable life for themselves. That can only happen if from an early age these young people are taught, educated, empowered, and engaged in problem-solving skills, decision-making skills, and allowed to practice some of this even in simulated environments. There is currently no strong global institutional framework to address children's unique vulnerabilities to climate change. In other words, nowhere in the world do we have a system that talks about the exposure of children and the effects of climate change on them. Children are young, they may not be able to verbalize, to tell you their needs and wants, and so it is difficult to make a list and say, this is how, or these are the ways in which climate change affects young people. But those young people are the most vulnerable. Imagine if there is heavy rain, flooding, and the riverbanks break. The children are the ones that are carried away way more easily. The older people can climb trees, get on top of rooftops, and so on, and try to keep themselves safe. But the young people cannot. And so we don't have a list that says how these young people are vulnerable to the effects of climate change today. National adaptation programs of action and other plans, for example, rarely address the specific needs, knowledge, and skills that educated children can offer in mitigating and adapting to climate change and other disaster risks. Now, why is education important? If children were not educated, if they did not understand the risks involved and what we've done to the environment, how are they going to offer solutions? How are they going to come and talk? How are they going to be part of a debate? How are they going to discuss? They can't do that. If they can't do that, they are left out. So an education is absolutely essential for young people if these young people are to become part and parcel of the solution package. And these young children have lots of great ideas, as we will see as this module progresses, how what children thought of in schools, how that impacted policy and steps that the government then later took in different parts of the world. But right now it is important simply to understand that if we want young people to be part and parcel and to take active action in terms of finding solutions, education is absolutely key. Otherwise, they will be lost. Incorporating key concepts such as human rights, child rights, poverty reduction, disaster risk reduction, climate change, and protection of indigenous peoples' environmental education teaches children to think critically about sustainability and their society. So if we want sustainable development and growth, it is not just enough to talk about the environment. We need to talk about all the other social and economic factors that also affect different nations differently, depending on the kind of nations they are classified as. The developed world has a different set of issues. The developing world has another set of issues. The underdeveloped world yet has another set of issues. So we need to look at all these together, but keep the environmental aspect in mind all the time. If we only focus on social development, on economic development, and not look at the environment, it won't give us the 100% result that we are looking for. The challenge is to integrate environmental education concepts into all aspects of quality education. You cannot teach environmental education as a subject. It needs to be part of everything that is taught in schools, because economics, psychology, history, all that plays a role in environmental education. Students will need basic knowledge from the natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities to understand the principles of sustainable development, not just the environment. They need information, skills, concepts from all the different disciplines to help them understand and develop something for sustainable development and growth for themselves and their future. Reorienting the existing curriculum of environment-friendly schools towards environmental education is the next innovative and relevant step towards enhanced quality education. In the developed world, there are actually schools that are classified as E-friendly schools, environment-friendly schools. What they do is they bring in the environmental aspect in all areas of what they teach and across disciplines. We will take a look at that later.